Hey everybody, it's Friday again, the 13th, which means it's time for a news roundup. As always, my name's Resin, but hey, you can call me G. And it has been a week of Borderlands ducks, Brexit zombies, Amiga graphics, surprise loot box decisions, and an arcade apple. One of the most anticipated games of the year, Borderlands 3, has been released as of today on Windows, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Don't really have anything else to add to that, since anybody interested in it are probably already playing it. One thing to note, though, on this release is that Tubbz, the cosplaying ducks, have of course also released a set of 4 ducks to go alongside Borderlands 3. The ducks in questions are Lilith, Psycho Bandit, Moxie, and Tina. And while I'm less enthused about Borderlands than some of my colleagues, for reasons outside of the games themselves, I'm fully on board with getting the set. Later in October, you can also look forward to the second wave of Borderlands 3 Tubbz, featuring Brick, Maya, Tyrene Calypso, and Troy Calypso. I had the chance to check out some of the various Tubbz at Gamescom, and they generally look really good and well made, and there's a few other ones I'd be down for having in my display case, or, just lining the edge of our bathtubs. And keeping in mind that it is Friday the 13th, how about some zombies? Out of Australia comes the announcement of a Brexit zombie adventure in the form of point-and-click game Ghoul Britannia, Land of Hope and Gory. The game is being made by Binary Space and written by Jonathan L. Howard of the Johannes Cabal the Necromancer series of novels. And if you're as old as me, you might even recognize him from the Broken Swords games, dating back to mid-1990s. The whole thing takes place in a post-Brexit UK, as if that's a thing that'll exist anytime soon. And you play as Hope Andrews, a young woman separated from her family when the isolationist government's dangerous plan to revive its failing economy goes wrong, which however does sound plausible. As a way to handle the shortage of laborers, the government has decided to reanimate the dead and use them as workforce, and this predictably fails harder than Boris trying to get Parliament to agree with him on anything. The game hits Steam on October 9th, so well before Parliament is back in session, and much like the current government, it'll be in early access, with the first half of the game being available on the 9th, and the rest coming in early 2020. And if you're one of those people really nostalgic for the good old days, how about a new graphics card for your Commodore Amiga? A German webshop called MNTRE is doing a second batch of new Amiga graphics card called the ZZ9000. This graphics card is a modern video solution that brings a multitude of support for the so-called big box Amiga computers, i.e. your 2000s, 3000s and 4000s. The whole thing is based on an FPGA or Field Programmable Gate Array, alongside a dual-core ARM Cortex A9 processor and a gigabyte of DDR3 RAM. It features the usual suspects like retargetable graphics up to full HD, but also scan doubler with flicker fixer, an Ethernet port and even USB. From the looks of things it might be slightly awkward to insert, and there's a special bracket to get into SORI 3 slots, but it is being made for computers that are 25 years old, or even older in the case of the Amiga 2000s. MNTRE's second run will be of another 100 pieces, and should be available in October or November this year for €329. And coming back round to the UK government, a UK House of Commons committee has advised that loot boxes should be considered gambling, and that children shouldn't be exposed to games containing these super fun and exciting surprise mechanics. After sessions listening to EA and others talk about how loot boxes and other random components purchasable with real-world money are totally not gambling, and listening to players argue that they are, the House Committee concluded that not only should children be preemptively protected from potential harm, and parents' wallets be protected from EA's predatory behavior, but that EA and friends were obtuse and dishonest. And we all know how much UK politicians disapprove of dishonesty. The report cited evidence from cognitive psychologists that such in-game features are designed to exploit potential psychological mechanisms associated with gambling-like behaviors. UKIE CEO Joe Twist has come out saying, and I quote, "We will review these recommendations with utmost seriousness and consult with the industry on how we demonstrate further our commitment to player safety, especially concerning minors and vulnerable people." The committee also looked at social media, with Facebook, the Tweety and others having appeared before them, even if Mr. Zuckerberg thinks that the UK government is beneath him, with concerns that like counts and other constructs on social media could be addictive and unhealthy. However, it was ultimately the game industry's insistence on giving non-answers and being evasive that reportedly led the committee to focus on game and gambling, letting the social networks mostly off the hooks this time around. For further snark on this topic, we point you to Jim Sterling's take on this news. And if you've been following the Kickstarter for Reigns the Council, a board or party game for 3 to 6 players, where you take turn being the monarch or one of the advisors, you may be delighted to hear that it has hit its initial funding goal of $65,000 US. If you're not familiar with the game, players are each given different objectives and have to convince the monarch to follow their suggestions based on cards they play. And the monarch then chooses one or more suggestions to follow, which changes the balances of power in the realm. Once a monarch's reign comes to an end, points are tallied based on the advisor's successes, and the crown is passed on to the next player. The game looks like good fun, especially if you're into telling small stories to further your agenda, and there's still about 18 days left on the Kickstarter, as it moves into stretch goals, which right now haven't been announced. And of course, the big news of the week, Apple Arcade. This week, Apple announced their subscription platform for games, Arcade, which will start at $5 per month. At launch, the platform will have more than 100 curated games, all of which Apple insists won't be available on other mobile platforms or available via other subscription platforms. This is a far cry from the literally hundreds of thousands games on the Apple App Store, and precisely what impact this will have on games not available in Arcade remains to be seen. But Apple suggests that this is to improve discoverability somehow. The platform will be exclusive to Apple devices, i.e. iPads, iPods, iPhones, Mac computers and Apple TVs, which really doesn't come as a surprise, and will include single-player, multiplayer and augmented reality games. There is no word on how Apple will be sharing revenue with developers or what cost might be involved in getting in there in the first place. And developers and publishers on Twitter have expressed concerns about what this does to the premium mobile market, with some saying it is basically dead, at least on the iOS devices. Apple Arcade will launch in 150 countries on September 19th. And that was this Friday's news bits, of course with a whole lot more out there, and we're especially skipping the KFC dating sim news. Don't forget to follow us here, and for more news and stories, stay tuned to our Bamster's Twitter account, where you can find us talking and sharing about everything in the worlds of entertainment. Hit like, share this episode, and remember that if you leave a comment, you might just win a random Steam key. Ciao.